Welcome everyone to the Clay Seminars. I'm Linda Sorman and I'm joining you from NYU, which is located on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape peoples. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Munsee Lenape community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. New York University acknowledges that it was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples, including those on whose land this institution is located. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And with me co-hosting today is Claire Toomey.
Hello, I'm calling from London today. The Clay Seminars is a collective gathering formed through the alliance of NYU and the University of Westminster's research team at the Ceramics Research Centre. We are grateful and humbled by the civic opportunity of our educational institutes to support this series, and we invite a broad gathering of artists, curators, and arts organisations at all stages of their practice to join us and share in the seminar series.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about the glitches at the beginning there. Hopefully they'll have gone away from us now. I want to welcome you to the third of the Clay Seminars, whose theme is context and belonging. I'm Tessa Peters and I'm taking the role of facilitator today. In today's seminar, the three panelists will be offering perspectives on some of the issues that affect the current moment and the future ambitions of clay practices in their particular part of the world. The theme of the seminar acknowledges the global history and associated cross-cultural nature of clay. And of course, ceramic history, ceramic knowledge, technology influence has long had a global dynamic. And as with the past, the different contexts we operate within today give rise to different demands of clay practice, and on how clay skills and knowledge can have the most impact on society, on where clay is needed, and where it can thrive as a medium and still play a vital role. So each of the panelists will be presenting their perspective in turn, and we'll then have a panel discussion. And after that, I'm going to be welcoming the audience to pose their own questions. So if you do have a question, do please type it into the Q&A function. So now I've got the huge pleasure of welcoming and introducing today's esteemed panelists. Is Nia with us? Yes, you are, Nia. Great. Good to see you. Nia Gautama is an artist, writer, and educator. She's taught visual art at Telkom University, Bandung. She's a regular guest lecturer on the Women's Study course and the Methodology of Art Research course at the Institute Technology Bandung in West Java, Indonesia. She works in a range of media, including ceramics, textiles, performance, with a focus on the domestic sphere, both in terms of her feminist themes and the materials she employs. She's exhibited across Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and also in Taiwan, China, and Australia. We also have with us visual and performance artist Nia Kuchaka. Hello, Nia. Nia lives on a farm in rural Maharashtra, but she's currently on a visit to London. She's a graduate of the Royal College of Art, London, and the Faculty of Fine Arts, MSU Baroda, and was also a student at the Golden Bridge Pottery in Pondicherry. Nia is co-founder of Bij, a performing arts collective in Mumbai, and is a co-curator and working committee member of the Indian Ceramics Triennale. Our third panelist today is Dr. Samuel Murthy. Hello, Sam. Sam is an artist and an associate professor in the Department of Industrial Arts Ceramics section at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. He holds a PhD in African art and culture. Sam's a member of NCECA, and he's been working on expanding the frontiers of ceramic production in Ghana. His current interest is working closely with Indigenous women potters, both in traditional and contemporary spaces, and he's published widely on those issues. So welcome all, thank you so much for making it here today. So to kick off your presentations, Nia, can I ask you to go first and let us know about the situation in Indonesia? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, CASA, Ceramics Research Center, and NYU for including me in this today's seminar. And can I just start the presentation?
Yes, please. Can
Okay.
you show your screen?
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, great, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my presentation is titled Play, We Live and Unite. And I will start with the history of how when the Indonesian ceramics, the high firing began. It was when there were Chinese immigrants came as gold and tin miners of Singkawang, West Kalimantan, around the first half of the 18th century. It's about 1740 and 1760. This is just the photo of the immigrant, and this is actually this is in a modern present time, but we can see the Chinese influence of the ceramics. And when they came to Indonesia, actually they introduced the dragon kiln. So they fired the high firing ceramic in dragon kiln. So the first dragon kiln actually found in West Kalimantan, in Singkawang. And then before their coming, Indonesia clay tradition only knew earthenware. And at the instigation of Dutch colonizers around the earlier 20th century, the high fire ceramics then were introduced to other parts of Indonesia. This is earthenware in central Java, in Payap. There is a village of Pagar Jurang. There is a slanting wheel, and usually women who do the pottery, who do the wheel, who do the throwing, and men usually they process the clay. And then this is the example of their clay. Their ceramics fire, the earthenware is blackened color because there is special leaves they use specially for the coloring. After fire, they use leaves for firing, so that's why the color is become black. And here in Pleret, in West Java, mostly men with hand wheel, and this is the earthenware, the red color. But unfortunately, in this village, the earthenware now is become for the export needs. The earthenware is colored with the commercial paint, that's wall paint. We can see the slanting wheel from Payap village. The woman sit here, and then this is the wheel, and moved by this rope with the leg. And Indonesia modern ceramic art began in 1963 when the art school of the Institute Technology Bandung opened its ceramic studio. Since then, some of its alumni have been successful and productive as artists, potters, designers, and lecturers. This is the first example of the senior one, Mr. Widayanto. He's a ceramic sculptor who also produced handmade housewares with the help of many trained workers. So he has many trained workers. This is, he loves to explore the mythology, the Japanese mythology, and his design is inspired by nature. It's like butterfly. So it's really inspired by nature. And then this is Kandura, the younger generation. The four artistic ceramists and designers founded Kandura. They research, design, and glazes to produce handmade and limited edition of ceramic tableware. But they also hold a public workshop because, they design is very specific and exclusive, and they survive from this their production and also survive with the workshop. This is artist Albert Jonathan Setiawan. I took him as an example because he's one of the success artists. Now Albert resides in Japan as he gained a PhD in Japan. He loves to create repetitive pattern. We can see this is terracotta repetitive pattern, and he also creates drawing. But then he also doing performance. This is the ceramics. He inspired by mandala pattern and talks about temporality. So he crafts the ceramics. And I myself, as an artist, I gained my MFA in ITB. I love to explore women issues using ceramics, mixed media, and performance. This is using paper clay. It's very thin paper clay, so I dip the cloth, the fabric, into the clay liquid and fire. This is last time my performance. This is also my performance. And the newest one, aside from this alumni, there is Jatiwangi Art Factory, a community-based creative organization in West Java. They live actually in the Rothschild industry, but they transform the Rothschild into musical instruments. And they do the colossal action since 2012. And in 2022, just in 21st June, 2 days ago, they performed at Documenta 15 in Germany. This is they do the colossal since 2012 and always success. This is they do in Documenta. So they call participants and they did rehearsal before the D-Day. This is in Documenta. Actually they need more than, they said about 100 participants because of they have to, because this is the pandemic, even is lower, but they said they raise again, so that's why they limited the quota. So I think from my description, there are strategies for ceramic artists and makers to survive the patient of handmade. As we all believe that they are still appreciators of this work, and with the technological developments that allow for easier communication worldwide in present and future, I'm surely potential for synergy and collaboration across geographical boundaries, where clay is not totally tied to tradition, but conceptualized as an expanded practice use. For example, for its role, so I believe that the clay itself, without firing, they can perform as an art, and also perform digitally. I think that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nia. That was a fascinating outline of what's clearly a very diverse clay scene in Indonesia, working on all kinds of levels and engaging in all kinds of different ways. One thing I noticed from your presentation there was you mentioned that the ITB course started in 1963, which is actually quite interesting for me because the course that the CRC comes out of, the Harrow course, also started in 1963. So that's only ITB still going, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you. We'll come back to some questions later, but can I ask you to go up next, Naya, and let us know about your perspective as an artist and curator in India? Thank you.
So I'm reading also because I'm terrible at keeping time, but I have to start my timer now. So I have a few disclaimers. I would like to clarify that my presentation is not a survey. I hope to cover fair ground, but this is but a sliver of practices from a vast, complex landscape of clay and ceramic cultures in the plural, cultures that have been in conversation for years and years and have informed each other and complemented each other. Uh, yes, yet as everything in the subcontinent and as my presentation, they are not without their own chaos, conflicts, and cliches. Um, but it is a sliver of practices that is meaningful to me and that have shaped and bolstered my understanding of the possibilities of the clay world. Second, all but one contemporary artists I show are good friends. So this is a selection of practices that suits my eco-feminist narrative. Um, I would like to acknowledge the absurdity of um, talking about identity in an increasingly globalized world. We are a multicultural people. Uh, I take knowledge and selves freely from many cultures I participate in. I'm certain I appropriate. Uh, I, uh, I am certain I appropriate knowledge and selves from the different spaces I inhabit, different people I speak to, friends, family, teachers, even people I have never met, writers, strangers on the internet. So, do I even have an authentic self, an untouched core that I'm able to point to as the origin of all my thought and action? And lastly, there is the tremendous internal conflict about talking about identity and belonging in an increasingly polarized, hyper nationalist world that will colonize or cast off at convenience. But here I go. I start with a legacy we can all claim. Some of the earliest clay figurines found on the subcontinent, powerful images of what might be fertility goddesses, an acknowledgement of the power of a woman as creator. And here is another clay figurine from West Bengal, Kali, another wonderful feminist icon we have inherited. Talking about inheritance, I go to a small town in South Goa that gives me my name. I walk the town, learn about its mining history, talk to old relatives, learn about my grandparents' move to Bombay, visit the family house, meet family gods, and trace family trees. On a bed of local clay, I document my findings. Rashi Jain embodies deep silences and channels her Kundalini to find the sacred in herself. Anjani Khanna confronts our political realities, our rage, our compliance. A pile of stones, bones, rubble, flesh, deconstructed home, deconstructed human, and me attempting to draw lines around it and failing. Benita Percial's fragrance induced figures are yet another confrontation with deep fractures in Indian society today. In the three short guerrilla performances of Homeland, as much as I address notions of ownership and control and rootedness and uprootedness, I try to play with the materiality of clay. Madhvi Subramanian, who is currently based in Singapore of Indian origin, talks about the history of indentured labor and the movement of bodies between India and the Far East. My preoccupation with the body and the clay body continues as I layer my two primary materials digitally, layers of skin, earth, history, knowledge, guilt, prejudice, myth, memory, power, and movement fossilized into a group of photographs. Elodie Alexander explores notions of mental health and care at the Indian Ceramics Triennale. I'm really sorry, I've lost my notes. And let's see, I have, sorry, I've missed my cue. But this is a hand job. This is a work of mine talking about care and mediated care. Sharbani Das Gupta talks about borders and walls in her work, crossing, looking both ways. She lives at the border in the USA. And I continue photographic documentation of taking from the earth, again questioning about the notion of potter as creator or as destroyer. Throughout India, we walk through different ritualistic places and practices currently in existence, and practices where earth is taken from, used for religious purposes, and that goes back right where it's taken from. Gradually practices are changing, and we are moving from clay-based things to plaster of Paris based things. And sorry, these are very much living practices. And one of the reasons I've also included this photograph of traditional potters is they are pictures that I have taken, and looking through the archives, making work for this, I also began to question my own gaze, especially in this context. I don't know anymore whether these are ethnographic photographs or not, and therefore, as with everything else going on in the world, I live with my guilt and hold my guilt and live with the heaviness of the moment. So that is me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, that was a great overview, I think, of your contemporary clay work, and also in relation to the traditional work in India today. And I was interested in that question you raised about not really knowing which was ethnographic and which wasn't, because obviously you're working with kind of very sort of like individual and kind of like personal and political practice yourself too. Thank you. Let's move on to Sam now quickly. Sam, can I please invite you to give an idea of the issues you're currently focused on in Ghana?
So thank you very much for the opportunity to join this conversation. Special thanks to University of Westminster and the New York University. I'm Samuel Norty, and I want to speak to the issue of the context and belonging. For Ghana, I want to focus my presentation on the indigenous practice, which has been the foundation for Ghanaian ceramic practice, actually, which I feel they've been marginalized within the current practice. Everyone craves for acceptance and sense of belonging in Israel practice. Acceptance is actually identified with an healthy relationship, because if I do something and people accept it, I am motivated to do more, and I have begun to have a sense of belonging, and that's what the theme is about. First, these traditional practices provide very interesting examples of traditional techniques which, if we don't take care, may be destined to disappear as industrialization proceeds. Secondly, it presents an opportunity for government, especially where I come from, to develop the traditional industry. So, who are the makers of these traditions? Indigenously, they were women. Women are, please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, all right, yes. They are the makers of ceramics in Ghana. They work collaboratively. They do not work individually, they work collaboratively. Although as different units, they work together in producing works that are used in domestic homes, they're used in serving their families and their entire community. As you can see on your screen, they use clay pigments to produce paints in their homes, and these protect or preserve our cultural identity and heritage. Within our practice as well, they produce this domestic earthenware bowl, which we call apotoyua in Ghana. These apotoyua are used in serving delicacies and in shredding vegetables. Then all of a sudden, boom, there was industrialization. Mass production came in, and as you can see on the slides, on the left, you see mass production ready to go into a kiln to be fired. Thousands of cups to be fired within few hours, as against a woman who is producing closely to 60, 70, 80 earthenware bowls a day. Of course, these become, the industrialized ones becomes cheaper, and people are able to afford that one than the earthenware bowls. A clear example is that the handmade ceramic bowls that they produce to serve their families and the communities have been replaced by plastic bowls that are cheaper and easily available. We can go on and also talk about the same apotoyua, the blender coming in, shredding vegetables, as against the apotoyua which was traditionally or indigenously used. So there is also this pot which we use in storing our grains and cereals. These pots are also used in storing water. Now, these products have also been replaced by refrigerators and other plastic bowls that makes it difficult for these women producing pots to thrive. There is also the practice of decorative pieces that we use in decorating our homes. Some, after doing the vase, they use painting techniques. Some also use incision. Some also use these pots, in decorating their homes. So what is my project here? My project here is looking at this traditional practice which is becoming some sort of endangered, because if you go into it, you realize that there are the age limit now is about 50 years. It means that the younger ones are not actually interested in going into this indigenous practice, which if we don't, we are losing that cultural practice. I believe the way forward is a synergy between this traditional practice and academia. Being a professor of the university, I'm looking at how I can bridge these two or bring this synergy, that there will be cross fertilization and then protecting this traditional practice. So I've worked with these women, as you can see on the image. I work with these women who produce earthenware bowls. We do design thinking, how we can re-innovate these ideas, how we can use this craft in a contemporary installation. My idea is to make sure that these works can also be used as artwork, and in so doing can project the practice. Now, I as a university professor, I brought these traditional women to my university classroom as teachers. Then, as you can see on the, I wrote them as university teachers to teach my students. I believe that they have the skills. They've been practicing these skills for not less than 40 years. They have the skills to impact to these students. And when there is this synergy, there will be skills transferred. So you will see our students interacting with these local practitioners. I also realized that after this synergy and collaboration, our students or artists are beginning to use their products in exhibitions. As we can see, these pots are made by these traditional women, using them in exhibitions. In exhibitions, somebody called it light soup, where Nicholas Burrell relational aesthetics comes in, trying to use the pot as something that will serve mankind. I also use it in producing an installation that I call building bridges. I believe if you want to build bridges for the contemporary and then the traditional to have a collaboration, there must be a building bridges. And I was able to do this installation using only the works of these traditional potters. I believe by doing that, we bring them into the contemporary space. Whilst they are practicing their traditional ones, they also find a place in the contemporary space, and then we keep moving from there. Will you call this the contemporary ceramic art? But actually, it is a craft from the traditional space. And these are some of the thinking I'm bringing into this synergy. I've just sown the seed, and I'm hoping that it will germinate. The need for cross-border fertilization of skills and knowledge is very key to sustenance and development of a practice such as ceramics. There is more to learn from each other. Ghanaian ceramic art and curatorial practice can thrive better by identifying and developing such synergies. I see artists who will become more committed to their community, who will work in contest and have a sense of belonging if we do that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sam. Also, a very interesting set of ideas that came out of your presentation there. Yeah, I'm just kind of like forming some questions in my mind, thinking about what you've just been saying, Sam. That sense of there are the indigenous ceramic practices of the women potters. Then there are the ceramic practices and products that come out of your department at the university. What do you think is the degree of separation between those two areas? I mean, I'm thinking mainly in terms of do the different potters work for different customers or communities? Do their works ever get seen alongside one another, or are they sold or made for different groups of people? So I think you're muted, Sam.
Yeah. They work in different groups, well, regionally, where so in one part of region they work together, in another part of region they work together, but they work mainly based on as a commercial artist. When people come to them that I need this product, because mostly their products are used domestically. Their products are used in their homes, and it's been a quintessential product in the house of every Ghanaian. At least every Ghanaian has an earthenware bowl that is called apotoria. But it's just that the influx of mass products from Western and Asia stuff have brought lesser demands to their works, which makes it, if there is less demand, it means that their practice goes down, because if you do the work, people do not actually patronize it. And it makes that the present shoes and staff are not actually looking at that practice. It's becoming endangered, because if you go there, you see the average age of the workers there could be close to 50 years. It means that in some years to come, as they age and staff, this thing will become extinct. And most of them are folded up. One key thing is that the clay sites where we collect our clay government have allowed buildings to be going on, so we are not getting the materials. You know what I mean? Residential buildings are being built on the clay site. It means that getting access to materials is becoming a challenge and stuff like that. So this is what I'm looking at, how we could stop it. We can only stop this if through exhibitions, through collaborations, and that's what I've been looking at.
Right.
I've been working. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
So yeah, so you're about bringing everyone together and not letting
To see the
knowledge
essence of.
go. Yeah,
Yes, please.
yeah. I mean, in Indonesia, Nia, is there a big divide between the traditional ceramic maker and the contemporary maker?
Yes. In Actually, in Indonesia, yes, there is like between tradition and contemporary. But now, the academician, the intellectuals, curators, uh, we we unite between tradition and contemporary. So we try to lessen the dichotomy. So because both traditions and contemporary art, they are both valuable and we have to appreciate. Because the history from history is from tradition. But now when there's schools, when we study at schools, then become it all conceptualized. So it's become contemporary. Whereas the contemporary art is the concept is very important. So we can make the tradition and we can conceptualize the tradition into contemporary. So we lessen the gap. I think yeah, what we already did for we already have the fifth Indonesia Contemporary Ceramics Biennale when we met in Jatiwangi. It's that our effort to unite the tradition and contemporary. And so also like what Jatiwangi, they made roof tiles. Roof tiles is tradition actually. It's terracotta, but we bring it like a contemporary because it's conceptual. Also, some artists they also respond the clay tradition uh, into contemporary. They make sometimes they use the tradition part into contemporary. I took one example of the. I don't have the video here. There is artist Edwin Pradita. He used pot. He took pot. It's the traditional pot, and he make it like a digital. He inspired by Ai Weiwei, the artist Ai Weiwei. So he titled after Ai Weiwei. So the pot become the screen. So the color of the glaze like melted. So it's it combine the tradition and contemporary. I think yeah, it's our ceramics. We treat the ceramics between tradition and contemporary. We can go together. We can collaborate.
Thank you. Nea, a similar question to you about that, you know, the division between tradition and contemporary. Is it something which is very separate, or are you in, is there an interest to bring them together?
This is a very this is a complex complex question. I mean, first of all, like all of the traditional practices, I do think are also contemporary in that they are not. It's not. They're not. Philosophically or I mean they're not dead. These are living practices. And so I mean when I do think they are contemporary practices. At the same time, I think in India, I mean, they have been quite separate also because it's not it is something that is passed down sort of through family lineage, and there are issues of caste and class and other societal things to think about. I mean, it's certainly, as somebody who works in the contemporary, as a contemporary practitioner, they're relevant. They're relevant today, and therefore, I mean, that is also the need to share it. We are referencing them. We are interested in them, I think, and I speak for most practitioners. At the same time, I think this is something that, I mean, as like the Triennale team as well, we talk about is when, like, bringing these practices into the gallery space, how much of it is something that is enforced or directed by you as an outsider, and how much is that a direction that these practitioners want to take? Because when you look, if you see those images of the terracotta horses, or all of the offerings that are made, or they are ritualistic spaces, they are living temples and shrines, and bringing them into the gallery. They will be and they could be installations outside, but they are not. They are sort of living cultural traditions that have some meaning to their practitioners. And so, I mean, so I think this remains a bit of a, in so many ways, we are all working and living and breathing the same material, and we understand the same material.
Mm-hmm.
But I think philosophically speaking, they are very different cultural practices.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just aware that time is whizzing away with us as ever. Phoebe or Claire, are there any questions you'd like to bring in at this point?
Hi, Tessa, and hi. Thank you, everyone, for the presentations. There's been a couple of questions, and maybe there's lots of things I've been thinking about as well. I'm wondering if this one, perhaps we've kind of already answered in some ways, but to do with communities and how they feel about your work, and maybe that's something to answer more in a personal way, kind of if you feel like they're supporting the work you do or separated. And I guess that's quite a different question depending on how you're working, but I suppose individually, maybe, do you, as artists, I guess you're working in what we might consider non-traditional ways, and to what I think would be interesting to speak a little bit maybe about, to what extent is that accepted, and there's kind of possibilities that support you in that path, or is that something still very challenging to kind of continue to make the kind of works that you're making? And obviously people have touched on examples, I think, of lots of different kinds of practice in the area they are, but maybe maybe individually, if kind of you had any thoughts around that.
How do you feel you're being kind of supported in the work you want to do? Nair, do you want to start off on that? Is the ICT an important network for you?
Like, you've kind of almost made your own support system.
I think in so many, there were a lot of interesting and exciting practices happening across the medium in India, and the ICT was happened obviously because there was a need to bring those together on a platform that that allowed for that conversation, and but I mean, the thing is that also in India we were able to in so many ways create our own opportunities, and I think as there is a lot I mean, there is a sense of community, and there is tremendous support from the community for uh, for the ambitions that you have. I mean, all of us on the curatorial committee of the Triennale, we're all practicing artists ourselves, and when we decided that we wanted to take on something that big, we did not have the support of the artistic community across the country. I don't think that would be possible, really. So certainly, I mean, community and building community and supporting each other, I think, definitely are a big part um, of uh, of understanding the material even, I think.
Okay, thanks. Is that a question you could address, Sam? The idea of, how do the communities feel about your work?
When I started, I realized the enthusiasm from the traditional porters, right? They now have a sense of satisfaction. They have a sense of belonging. To borrow your theme, because they remark that they have never in their lifestyle of practicing for 40 years been invited by a university to come to a university. They have never been to school. Don't get me. They've never been to school. So the opportunity to come and interact with university students is really a great one for them. So that is a starting point. From the university, I do not have too much support. It appears, well, let's see what you can do with this thing. I'm sure because it's just a seed that has been it's been sown. When it germinates and people will come on board. But for now, it's just a personal project and no funding. I fund it myself. I make sure that I visit them. There's a cross cultural. I'm going back to look at their kilns to see if I can improve their kilns for them. So there is excitement at the end of the traditional porters, but I also see excitement and satisfaction on the part of my students because they are very happy trying to integrate with this traditional porters. So that is, for me, no support, but there's excitement within the community. And I'm sure as time goes on, the community will buy into it and then things will be much better.
Okay, thank you. Nia, is that a question you feel you can address? The idea of, how do the audiences, the communities feel about the work, about ceramic work being produced?
Yeah, I think in my country, yeah, like I said, between the tradition and the modern contemporary, now we can join together, we can collaborate. We learn from the tradition. So students sometimes lecturer brings students to the village to learn from the patterns, and and then the lecturers together with the students like help them to develop the design, just to introduce how to create the new design for their portrait, because they focus on how to make the pot, the cups, but we help them to develop the design. But we are not really intervene. We really based on their tradition, and we just develop. So we don't intervene, and we don't change their style. Based on their style, we develop. So I think we learn each other, and our community. Yeah, what community? I think we don't have such a community. We have all ceramic artists have their own studio. But we unite together. We learn from each other, and sometimes we celebrate with a huge exhibition. Yeah, I think that's the condition in Indonesia.
And also, in my experience, to add to that, of the the ceramics biennial in Indonesia. It is very varied. There's lots of different kinds of works which feed into that, like the Indian ceramics biennial. They're very kind of broad-based exhibitions. They do bring everything in. Any other questions there, Phoebe?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what we haven't covered already, I guess. I mean, there's some thinking about, I guess, traditions and what is needed by, I guess, now and the future. And I think it was interesting, you know, Neha, you touched a bit on this in your talk as well, about how, you know, our lives aren't so narrow, and, you know, we're kind of picking up on all kinds of traditions in different places. And for me also, I think I was thinking about this connection to the raw material, which seemed, you know, in your work, you're kind of very physically, directly connecting with the land at times. Sam, in some of what you spoke about, maybe the difficulty in actually kind of accessing that sort of raw clay and land sometimes, and also thinking maybe with, you know, near in Indonesia, particularly with the ceramic music festival, you know, this kind of tradition of ceramic objects and kind of really being exposed to those in a very different way than just as roof tiles, but kind of this other experience. So I don't know if there's something maybe to do with, you know, that physical connection to place and material that if anyone had anything to sort of say. I realise we're quickly running out of minutes, but yeah.
Is there anything?
For me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like like Jatiwangi F3 actually, they feel that first, when it's the village, the industry village, very industrial, and they think creatively how to keep the clay as more valuable than industry, like a fast industry. So they create that creative action. Not only the roof tiles is only for one example, but they invite artists, educators, practitioners to work in Jatiwangi together with the villagers in the roof tile to make something, to create something. So that's how they make the use of the objects. They still keep the tradition. They still use the roof tiles, and they but to make to remind the people, remind the village that the earth, the soil, the clay, we have to appreciate the clay. So that's how they create the creative action. Yeah, actually, that's what they aim to propose. Yeah. That's answering the question.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it seems to me that a big strand that's running through everything that everyone's raised today is that idea of finding ways of valuing the clay and the skills. And, you know, so in the case of the roof tiles at Jatiwangi, you know, how can everyone value those more? And in a way, you know, Jatiwangi are known for their music as well. So bringing them into that musical performance is yet another kind of quite imaginative way of doing that. You know, Neha, you were saying that, you know, the idea of the tradition, you know, isn't something in the past. It's something which still exists very much now in the present. It's another form of the contemporary. And, you know, that needs to be valued as well, because it's another way of using clay. It's another way that it contributes to society. And Sam was saying something kind of like very similar in the way that he was bringing the women potters into the university to teach the students as a way of showing how much their skills are valued, and how, you know, they have something to kind of like pass on and yeah, kind of give to the culture as well, to keep everything alive, so that we don't want to lose any of those things, really, I think. And I would say that we have the same response in the UK, exactly. You know, one's always worried about what one's in danger of losing, as much as one wants to expand the field of production. So even though we might be kind of like moving into other ways of using clay and other places where clay is shown, we want to keep everything, really, rather than losing things as well. I suppose in a way that's a bit of my summing up. I don't know if there's anything any of you would like to add to that, or if you feel I've kind of misinterpreted anything or missed anything there. I mean, otherwise, I'm happy to remind people that there is another seminar tomorrow. The seminar tomorrow is on the theme of what is the artwork, which you've got on the screen there now. And that's going to start at 4 o'clock in London time and 11 a.m. New York EST time. So I hope that everyone can come along to that tomorrow.